Good night. It is November 3rd, 2024, and it is a Sunday. Here in Sherbrooke, it is currently negative 3 degrees Celsius, 26 degrees Fahrenheit. We've sunk below the barrier of freezing. We're in it. We're knee deep into the cold. And we won't really be able to get up out of it for another several months. But that's just what's going on, and it's normal, and it's winter. Well, it's not winter yet, but winter is just right around the corner. The sun this morning rose at 6:30 a.m. and it's set, Jesus Christ, at 4:31 p.m. Really? 4:31 p.m. It's 10 hours and 1 minute of sunlight. I'm freaking out a bit about the cold, about winter. It's fine. I'll get used to it. I hate the cold. But I also choose to live in Quebec, so it's not really. It's a me problem. The cold is not a problem, and in a way, I think it does bring us all together. I think I've talked about this before, but one thing I do like about winter and about how everything is more difficult during the winter. Like, if you are not from a place or in a place or have spent a significant amount of time in a place that has winter, it just makes everything. And I'm talking about like winter of like snow and ice for like honestly the majority of the year. It just makes everything is more time consuming. Even simple things take a lot more effort and energy, and as I mentioned, time. Everything going to the grocery store, going to work. And so there is a lot of cocooning that happens, just sort of staying inside, staying together, which is good, but also a sort of equalization of priorities. Not across the board, but we're all just trying to stay warm. I sound stupid, but I came to that conclusion a couple of years ago as I was walking in the cold, and I was hating every moment of it. And it was so cold, bitterly cold, and it was probably earlier than I wanted to be awake. I was walking probably to work and trying to stay positive and think about the beauty of this. And I was just thinking, like, everybody is just trying to stay warm. That is our number one goal at this point, because if we don't, we die. So there's something I like about that, but the actual physical experience of it sucks all the time, and I hate it. But today I had a really good day. I went early this afternoon to the annual General Assembly of Sherbrooke Citoyen, which is a municipal political party that I'm a member of. And it's my first time going to a General Assembly of a municipal political party, and it was pretty boring. Generally speaking. However, my friend is going to be running for mayor, and it was at this assembly that he was officially announcing that he was the chief of the party and that he would be running for mayor, although it was like unofficially announced a few months ago. Everything was made official, and that was really nice. And we got to vote for some of the members of the party, and so it was an important thing. But I also saw a friend of mine that I hadn't seen in a long time, in a couple of years, and that I felt really bad for. I believe that I wasn't a good friend because I wasn't putting effort into maintaining our relationship, maintaining our friendship, and that he had tried on a few different occasions to reconnect, but I just wasn't able to do it. But I apologized, and there was no bad feelings. He said, like, look, man, I get it. I know you. stuff you do sometimes, and as with a lot of friendships, sometimes you just don't talk to each other for a while, and it's you see each other and everything's fine, and there's no bad blood, and he had asked, just to make sure that I was fine, and people who seen me around said I was fine, so he was like, oh, we'll see each other again eventually. So it was really nice to see him, and I'm going to organize seeing him again soon. He's a very good friend of mine, somebody I care about deeply. Um, that was really good. And then went up to Montreal because my friend was coming back from a trip, and uh, I went up with my other friend, who they're in a relationship together, two of my best friends in the world, and so yeah, so I just went up, um, and it was fun. And then we got Indian food in near the airport. It was really good and affordable, and have a bit of that left. I'm heating up the oven now to finish the large portion of nachos that I made myself yesterday. Too large of a portion. Immense, but I'm going to eat the rest of it because it's going to get soggy and less good in the fridge. Today I'm thinking about the song The Honey Trap from Dark Souls 4, which is maybe one of the harder songs to talk about, or maybe the easiest because there's not as much to say about it. All the albums I put out of like songs, more like fun, accessible stuff for listening for pleasure, and not just like a big conceptual thing that is. The point is that I do put out a lot of stuff that is very like intentionally difficult to listen to for conceptual reasons, but then in albums like Dark Souls 4, I put things out that I generally think are fun and pleasant to listen to. Sometimes sort of a little dizzying, maybe, because there's a lot of like very abrupt changes in style and mood and tempo and stuff like that. But this one is just, this one's longer and more challenging, I think. Even me listening back to it, I think it's a little long, but I think it's good. And there are pretty parts. I love the contrast of noise, sort of harsh or difficult noise, and the orchestral arrangements. I did the whole thing once again, theme, just high on cocaine. But then there's the part where I start singing, which the lyrics are, and I've made a few songs about this, or like related to the subject, like Honest. I made any other songs specifically about this? Maybe. Um, well, I mean, I've made, yeah, like a decent amount of art about addiction and my addiction problem. This one is specifically about fear of relapse. And this was in 2021 that I made this song. So they've been aware of having this problem for a long time, and um, I think I was at a point where I'd stopped drinking. I was doing cocaine, but yeah, I wasn't drinking at that point. I stopped drinking in really early into the pandemic, like spring of 2020. Um, and then, I don't know if it's when I started with the cannabis, but I started like just eating a bunch of cannabis all the time, and then doing cocaine. Not all the time, but pretty often. And so this, like lyrically, the song is about. I mean, the lyrics are you're moving along quite carefully, and just like that, the honey trap, big jaws wide open right in front of me, just like that. Um, because one thing that's frightening about to me about being abstinent of alcohol, being abstinent of drugs, and that being so difficult, and there being this all this like effort and pain and yeah, just that effort and pain. But then just having this looming threat of how easy it is to just go right back to where I started. And even though, yeah, I can say, well, if somebody relapses, if I relapse, I mean, I'm not trying to square back to square zero or square one. I've definitely learning, growing, and all that stuff, but that's how it feels. At least to me in the past, that's how it's felt. I'm just like, I'm going back to it. And then also, like, some people, I guess, I've been thinking about this, but some people, I guess, are able to, like, relapse shortly and just be like, all right, well, shit, okay, well, I fucked up there, but that's okay. And I'll just get a handle on myself. But to me in the past, it's always, I've just gone back to it. Because one thing that is addictive is not just the substance, but it's the whole cycle of it, right? Especially since, like, for me, drinking is, at the beginning, say every time I drank, like every day, every night, the beginning would be about pleasure. Not always, but most of the time the beginning would be about pleasure. I'd feel pleasure in the beginning. But then after probably 3 beers, then I wouldn't feel pleasure as much anymore. And there'd be like chasing of that pleasure, trying to get back to that state of pleasure. But ultimately, I realize this now, what I was looking for after a certain point was just oblivion, which is nothingness, not wanting to feel anything, avoidance, being able to avoid everything that I'm feeling. And so it's so easy to just get back into it, because that's really the reason why I do it, is that avoidance, is that oblivion that I'm searching for. And so, I mean, even, I guess it was like, I don't want to say prophetic, but definitely some foreshadowing to when I think the next year I finally did relapse on alcohol. And it was just like this mounting pressure, of course. And, I was masking and avoiding it through cannabis, through cocaine. And of course, this was just a difficult period in everybody's life. Pandemic was fucked up for everybody. But then I just played a big show. It was like 2022. So yeah, I just played a big show. It was the only show with this band I was in before. And I worked so hard. I put a lot of pressure on myself because, like, I was playing keyboards and guitar and dealing with all, like, these samples and samples that were playing between the songs. And I had this whole system. It was just like really complicated. I just put a lot of pressure on myself to try to make something beautiful, and I think it did end up being beautiful, but it was less beautiful than it could have been, at least on my end, because I was high on cocaine, and I think I probably would have played better had I been less high on cocaine. But anyway, but then after that show, I felt this big down, this emptiness afterwards, right? As I went to search for that, I didn't think I was searching for an antidote for that. What am I saying? But that's not the point. The point is that, sorry, just like I'm just getting to things that are difficult to talk about. But so I was at I remember, actually I don't remember exactly what I was doing out and about on King West Street, King West and Jacques. But the idea came into my head, like which is infected by a virus, and the idea wasn't even like an idea, it was a certainty, like I am going to drink. And I went to this dep that I rarely ever go to on King West and Jacques in Sherbrooke, and I just bought. Did I buy 6-pack? I probably bought 8 beers, like 6-pack and like a tall boy. I just bought alcohol, and it was funny, like how easy it was. It was so easy, and this has been like almost 2 years that I'd stopped, and all it took was just walking into a store and grabbing it and paying for it and leaving, and then, I mean, of course, then walking home and feeling shame but also trepidation. I was excited as well, you know? And yeah, then that started very, pretty profound spiral back down into drinking, um, which then eventually ended up with me just like blacking out and losing my shit at work, uh, which was the rock bottom for me. Well, yeah, I mean, I guess, but then it took another couple months for me to actually like get help. But it's crazy how, and they're in is the inspiration for the image of the big jaws wide open right in front of me. It's like it is a threat, like, and it's this dangerous thing that I know it is going to swallow me up, right? If I go back to it, it's right in front of me. It's right there. Not only like the substances themselves, but it's so obvious how much I'm going to suffer if I do it, and yet it's a honey trap, right? Like it's it's I just can't, or at least in the past couldn't resist eventually getting to that point, even though I knew I was gonna get fucked over, right? So yeah, and then there's the Michigan fromage part, which I did. Spent a lot of time with the effects on the voice with some unfiltered audio plugin, which have really good plugins. It just sucks that they sell their stuff through Plugin Alliance, which I think is a very restrictive um, licensing policy for their plugins. There's some plugins that I've just lost because I've changed computers too many times. Yeah, but those are something I spent a lot of time on. And then at the end, the samples are of Moko, who's this Jamaican guy who's got a YouTube channel for cooking. And a friend and I were really into that YouTube channel at the time. So when I saw that the sample pack, it was a sample pack, but it's just literally clips, because it's his friend who I guess was like managing the YouTube channel, put out the sample pack, but it's just like, yeah, just clips from his YouTube videos. I thought that was pretty funny. I was thinking of maybe not including that part and doing something else, but in the end I decided to include it to be genuine to what the original intent was. Although some of the choices I think in this album don't make sense, make less sense, and were just like things that I found funny or interesting while I was on drugs. I have learned over the years to trust my instincts. Like, even if I don't understand why I made a particular choice when creating something, in retrospect, I did have a reason to do it. So to not immediately throw it away just because it doesn't make sense anymore. For example, the song La Tarantella Sbagliata, which I thought was just an absolute mess that could not be salvaged, turns out is my favorite song in the album. And I've had a few people who've told me the same thing. So, and then, yeah, so like the final thing I want to say is like on the part where I start singing and then sort of the instrumental part at the end. Oh yeah, and by the way, that free jazz saxophone solo is all MIDI. It's all like, it's just a saxophone VST, and I don't remember exactly how I did it. I don't think I played it out. Yeah, I didn't even play it out. I just like editing the MIDI to make it sound like that. And I think it sounds really good. It sounds like free improv saxophone solo. But yeah, like the drums and synthesizer parts, I layered some drums on top of it, but like the initial one was a jam I had done with Corey Dallas that I was talking about yesterday. Who I'm sad, maybe I should reach out. I've been thinking about reaching out to Corey Dallas because the last time we saw each other, I was not a good friend to him. It was sort of like a total wreck when he came down to Sherbrooke to spend time making music with me, and I acted like a total drugged out loser, and I feel ashamed about that, and we haven't spoken since. But yeah, I just had this video that I filmed with my cell phone from probably like 2015 or 2016 of just a jam that we had done, and it was this really cool beat and synth pattern from some Volcas. And I can never figure out how to recreate it. And all I had was a shitty cell phone video recording of that sound. But I decided to finally do something with it because I'm like, I love this sound so much. And so I did that and layered some stuff on top, some better sounding drums. I think it sounds pretty good. It still sounds lo-fi, but I like the effect. Um, and yeah, that's the Honey Trap. I like this song. I stand by it. It's one of the weirder things. Nah, I've done a lot of weird stuff in these albums, but yeah, it's probably one of the more difficult ones to get through. But I like to have songs that are difficult to get through on these albums that are challenging. I think that's fun, and I like to see how far I can push it while still making the totality entertaining. And I think it's entertaining. I don't know yet. I'm waiting on hearing back from people, but later tonight it's probably going to stay -3 degrees Celsius. I'm pretty sure the oven is warm enough to put my nachos in. But yeah, I mean, it's 11:36 p.m., so yes, it's going to stay -3 degrees Celsius, 26 degrees Fahrenheit. Tomorrow, don't have anything planned. I really want to play Android Netrunner. And I want to show my friends how to play this game and convince them that it's a great game, because it is a great game. And then probably write out some invoices so I can get more money. Because I've worked and I'm owed a significant amount of money. I just need to ask for it. In any case, I hope everybody's doing well wherever you are. And I hope it's not as cold where you are as it is here, because this is really starting to bother me. And I'll accept it eventually. Soon, I won't have a choice. But I hope it's warm. And if it's not, I hope you have a more optimistic perspective than I do. Everyone, have a great night.